Hey everybody, it's Dave from Let's Make a Game Together. Thanks for checking out this video, and once again thanks for everyone who supported our channel on Patreon. It really is the best way to help support this channel. Okay, so let's look at where we left off last time. So last time we created, I'm just going to move the player out of the way because I don't want to do anything at the moment. We created a character, an enemy that could move back and forth and bounce off the walls. And he bounces off the player as well, which is not something that we want, but we can fix that later. And also the player can jump on his head, nothing happens, but we can fix all that later. But yeah, we've got an enemy that moves back and forth, and that's great. Now currently he doesn't kill the player, and also the player doesn't get hurt by him, and he also doesn't get any points when he bounces on his head, just like in Mario. And then I realized we don't even have a score system yet, so I think the next thing that we should do is come up with some sort of a generic score system, and then soon after that we can work on enemy AI a bit more, and a few more little things until we can start actually fleshing out the game. But after that, so right now we're just kind of focusing on the prototyping, sorry, and then we can work on actually fleshing out some animations and graphics and things and music and things like that very shortly. But we're doing really good. We're getting really close. So first thing I want to do is I want to just neaten up my project a little bit. So inside the assets, I'm just going to create a few folders. I'm just going to create one called scripts. I'm going to create one called sprites, and I'm going to create one called prefabs. So drag the scripts into the scripts folder, not the sprites folder. Drag the sprites into the sprites folder, and I'm going to drag this prefab into the prefab folder. And I'm also going to create a new prefab, which is the prefab of the enemy. For now, just drag it into the prefab section. I'm actually going to change. I don't like that the enemy's transform is already at 0. I'm going to leave that at -36 because we had some problems with him moving last time. And then I can get rid of the enemy, get rid of the box, get rid of the other box, and then we got our two grounds and our player, and let's just give the game a test run. So the player can move, fall down there, the game restarts. Cool. So we also want to make it so that we have a timer running in the game. So let's go over to Mario once again and just check out what Mario has done in the past. Okay, so let's just start a new Mario adventure. Cool. Let's just turn this down. So I'm just going to quickly run through this level. So we see that we got coins. Don't die, that would be really embarrassing. So we got 100 points just then. Got another 200 points, was it? Yep, 200 points every time you bash a thing. 100 points every time you land on one of those Goombas. 100 points every time you knock one of them. So there's different ways that the player can get points, and that's important. You want play variety. 1,000 points for a star. That's cool. 100 points, 100 points, 100 points. And the last thing I want to kind of check out. Don't die. Is we got a timer up here, which is it's going quite fast. I'm not sure if that was in the original, but if we move over to here, you get points for going up there, and then you also get points for the time that you spend, for how quickly you complete the level. So we'll just quickly build a simple timer system, and also we might be able to work on. We'll just set up a basic point system. Okay. Okay, so back into our project, we're going to open up the scripts folder and create a new script called player score. I think we should do that. We might adjust that later. Or all of this will probably adjust later, but for now we'll just leave it as is. Okay, so first thing we want to do is create a public integer, and we're going to call this time left. And this is just for the time left to finish the level. And we can set that to something like 120. So actually, I think we're going to make that a float. Cool. And then in update, we're just going to say time left minus equals time dot delta time. And all it does is ticks it down 1 second at a time. I'm pretty sure. I'll just have a quick look. If we just click on the player. Also, we can make the player a prefab, so click and drag player into prefabs, just because we'll need him in the future. And we'll add the new script, add component, player score. All right, time left 120. So let's press play. Let's have a look at that. I think it might not update now. I'm just going to say debug.log time left. Cool. Go back to Unity, press play. Let's check out the console. Yeah, so it's ticking down at about 1 second, well, exactly 1 second. It's just not updating there, which is fine. We don't need it to update there. That's just a public variable, and we can display it on the screen when we get to that, but it's definitely working. It's going down 1 second at a time. Fantastic. So that is done. We don't need this anymore. So our time is done, and but we also want to create a public score, a public int. Let's call it just player score. Okay, and we can have the score set to 0 at the start. We don't need this. And then I suppose we need to just have an end section, and then so when the player touches the end, it finishes the game, and then he gets all the points from how much time is left. Actually, first of all, because in the original Mario, if you didn't do the level in the amount of time, it just killed you. So we can just quickly do that as well. So we can say if time left equals is less than 0. We can actually say less than 1. Then we can set, well, actually less than 0 because it's a float. I keep forgetting it's a float. Less than 0.1. Then we can say, where is our code? Let me just open up the project. I think it might be player health. Yeah, scene manager dot. So we need this scene management script, and obviously this namespace here. Sorry, and obviously we'll change all this in the future. But for now, this is just the quickest way to do it, and I want my tutorials to be quite approachable for any newcomers. And also, the beauty of doing it this way is, you know, I'll explain this. If you're working on a bigger project, you wouldn't code things this way. This is a really kind of sloppy way of coding, but it's also the quickest and easy way to do things, and helps people start off. And in the future, you can always adjust things, and so I find it better to teach people this way. First, which is basically just, you know, things are what they are. You're not building complex systems just yet. You're just doing the basics, and so people can actually pull this. Like, you can pull this script out here. You can chuck it in your game, your personal game, and it will work completely fine. It will work exactly the same. So that's kind of what I'm trying to emulate with how I'm doing the tutorials here. If anyone is a bit of a Unity pro and they're like, why is he doing some of these weird things? Well, I like to do things very simple for those reasons. So cool. So if the time left is less than 0.1, cmanager.load scene equals prototype 1. So if we just change this to, let's say, 5 seconds, then after 5 seconds the game should restart. So if we just walk over here, characters over here, wait 5 seconds. Oh, I know what's happened. Sorry, because it's a public variable, it stays. Change this to private. What happens is if you change it in the inspector, or if it sometimes it stays with the inspected value, which is the value that's here in the inspector. So now because I changed it to private, it's not there anymore. Just the player score is. So yep, after 5 seconds the player dies. Well, he just fell down there, but we'll just test this again. And he dies here after 5 seconds. Cool. So obviously it doesn't display on the screen yet, but one step at a time, we'll get there. Okay, cool. So we'll change this back to 120, and we're just going to say, we're just going to create, for right now, just a simple game object. Game object dot, now let's create an empty game object, and we're just going to call this end level. And we're going to add a box collider 2D and a rigid body 2D, and we're going to set the rigid body to static, which means it stays in one space. And we're going to adjust. You can see the box collider there. We're going to adjust the size to be about that big. Doesn't matter too much. And we're going to make the end of the level just there, which means we also need to adjust our camera. So let's just say X max. We're going to say, let's say 30. I'm sure that will get us to the end. Let's just have a quick look. Yep, cool. Gets to the end and we can bang into our box collider. All right, fantastic. So let's just go to our end level, and we want to change this to is trigger. And we're going to, just for testing purposes, remember, and then we can go back into our script and we can handle that logic. So we can say, because this script is on the player, we can deal with collisions. So we can say void on trigger enter 2D, 2D, sorry, and we can call it, I think it needs to be a collider 2D, and we're going to call it trig. And we're going to say, we're just going to say debug.log. Touched the end of the level. Okay, let's just give that a test run. I'm just going to change this because we don't need that right now. I just commented out that debug. Okay, let's give it a go. Player jumps and bang, touch the end of the level. So we know that when the player touches this now, it's one, every time I touch it, the value goes up here. So we know that the player is touching the end of the level. So now all we need to do is code in the logic of what happens when the player touches the end of the level. So get rid of these two scripts, don't need them right now. Okay, so we don't need this. You can keep it if you want. But I can say, I'm going to say count score. Void count score. And then in void count score, we're going to take the time left, and we're going to add that to player scores. So to do that, we can just say player score equals player score plus, and then we can put it in brackets, time left, time left times 10, I'm pretty sure it's multiple 10, and then we can say debug.log player score. Pretty sure that's right, although I didn't do very well at maths in school. Yep. There we go. Of course, it's creating a problem. So it's freaking out because we're trying to change a float to an integer. So we can just quickly turn it into an integer, which is a bit sloppy, but it's fine. So the player score is an integer, and we're trying to change that. So we can say, I think we can say int, which casts it. Okay, cool, so there's no errors there, and yeah, so I'll just drag this guy over just so it's easier. Cool. So, yep, time left is 1191, which is what we want. So if we just, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, in void update, I'm going to say debug.log. And I'm going to say time left. Cool, so we can see it's 118, 117, 116, and so when I touch the end, it should times that by 10, so I'm just going to get under 100. That game is so good. Alright, 99. Alright, cool. So now, cool. Now pause it. We're going to scroll up until we see $970. There we go. Which was this score here. So there we go. As soon as we touched it, it times the score that we had, which is 97.06. Blah, blah, blah. It turned it into an integer because we used this here, which just casts this float into this integer. We just basically, if you put if we put that there, I could put double, and it would change it to a double, or I could any other numerical. But we just need an integer for this now because this is an integer. So we change it to an integer. And it does its best to guess what integer value it is in, and it says 970, and that's exactly what we want. Awesome, so that works. Now all we need to do is have it display on the screen. Okay, so let us do that. Okay, so to do that, because we're in prototype, everything looks ugly stage, we're not going to worry too much about what it looks like, but we're just going to aim for functionality at this stage. So best way to do that, game object, UI, and we're going to do text. Wait for my slow 2011 MacBook Pro to catch up. And then we're going to copy this, and we're just going to call one time left, and we're going to call one score. Cool, and first thing is first, let's change the color to be white. You can click here and you can adjust where it actually sits, and I want it to sit on the top left hand corner, so I click this option. It might be different on a Windows, but it says it here, Shift and Alt, and Shift, and then pivot it to top left hand corner, and then also let us just zoom in. I'm going to make this fairly bigger. I'm going to say 300 by 300. Let's say 150. Doesn't need to be that. Actually, I'm going to make this 500. 500 wide, 150 tall, and this one 500 wide, 150 tall, and we're just going to, this one is going to be score, and with score, I'm just going to leave it like that for now, and time left, you guessed it, it's going to say time left. And is there anything else we need to do? Just let's change this to say, I know what's a good size font, like 30. Yeah, and 30. And let's have the score just a little bit lower. So let's have it negative 150. Ugh, that's horrible, isn't it? Let's just see that in full screen. Oh, why has it changed? Sorry, my thing has changed for some reason. I think it's because I updated Unity to 5.6.1. That's annoying. Just adjust things to how you like them, but I'm going to put mine at negative 35. And I'm actually going to, yeah, good enough. Does the job for now. And time left. Obviously too, you can change your font here and you can change all these settings so it doesn't look like such like hot ass. Although hot ass is a good thing. Sorry. I think I'm going to become a dad soon because my jokes are getting pretty bad. Just going to have a bit of a buffer. 25. Negative 25. And I'm just going to add 25 this. It's going to be 60 actually. 65. Alright, cool. Let's press play, see what it looks like. Happy days. Alright, so then we can move over to the score. Player score. And we need to add a new namespace saying using Unity Engine .ui. Pretty sure that's right. And that means we can access the UI elements. So then we need to create a few variables. We can say public UI. I'm just going to say game object actually. Game object. And we're going to call this time left. Public game object player score. And obviously this is going to work. I'm going to name them both UI. UI kind of have variables the same thing in the same scene, you silly man. And that is good. So we've got these two public game objects and we want to access them. So we can say, I'm pretty sure if I go back into Unity, click on the player, wait for my 2011 MacBook Pro to catch up, and then I can drag time left into time left UI and score, click back on player, click on score, and click on player score UI. If you ever want to lock the view here, click this little lock button here, and that means that whatever you click on won't change. And that's really useful for dragging and dropping. Cool. Okay, so let's do a little bit of coding. So debug.long.time left we don't need anymore, but what we can say is just under time minus equals time.time, we can say time left UI dot game object dot get component, and then we can say text dot text equals time left plus time left. If this works, I'm going to be cheering because I'm not actually sure if it's going to work. Cool. Let's just have a look at that, see if it works. Cool. So it's counting down. It's counting down to with the float. I wonder actually if we just change this to an int. If this, oh my god, if this just works. Nope, of course it doesn't. Just gonna change this back to a float, and obviously we need to cast it to an integer again. Let's see. Cool, time left, and you can see that you've got time left now. That's great. And we can do the same thing, copy this, and we can say score colon space, and then we can put in an integer. It doesn't need to be changed to an integer. It can just be referred to as player score. Okay, so right now our score is 0. Why didn't that update? Our score is 0. Silly me. I've got to change player score UI to get .gameObject component text equals score plus player score. Hopefully everyone is following me. Alright, cool. So then if we click on this, yay, our score is huge, and every time we run through it, obviously we get more of a score, but that's not what's going to happen when we actually build out the game. Obviously when you touch the end, it'll run this whole method about finishing the level and yada yada yada. And drop down there, our score resets, which is great. Cool. So later on we will work on, in the next episode we'll work, maybe in the next episode, don't want to get too ahead of myself, we'll work on getting scores like by collecting coins, by jumping on enemies, things like that. So we will tackle all that stuff next episode. Thanks heaps for watching, guys. Check out my Patreon if you feel like donating, and yeah, peace out. See you guys next time.